So I knew from 19 years old that I always wanted to be my own boss. I had a job at 18, and I showed up at 8:01 when I needed to be there at 8, and I got written up as an adult for being 1 minute late to my desk. And I said, "Oh, this is not going to be my next 40 years of my life. I need to figure out something." So from that day, through a series of entrepreneurial journeys, from door knocking to network marketing to, we had an athletic training business, right? It was just something to not necessarily build this conglomerate, right? But just figure out these side hustles that paid me enough money that I didn't have to have a boss. And I found myself in the insurance world, and I was about to open up my own brokerage. Just kind of hit me one day that I didn't want to wear a suit every day, and that the SEC and these governmental bodies were still kind of my boss. And I said, no, there's too much red tape in this industry. So what can I do now? And I had been watching HGTV and all those shows. And I said, okay, this is where I'm going to plant my flag. I think I can do this. Previously, before insurance, I actually bought a course and about, no money down, investing, and late night infomercial. Took all the steps, digested it all as quickly as I could. I think it was like a 1 month program. I think I finished the whole course in like 2 days, and went out, sent mailers out, and got 4 houses under contract in my first week. Went to these people's houses, negotiated with them, talked to them, and that was powerful. It was a pre-foreclosure client, right? So these people, there's a lot of pain. It really opened my eyes to stuff that I went through as a kid, with foreclosure notices on our doors, getting off the bus and kids going, "What's that yellow letter on your front door?" The pain of that came rushing back. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe there's a bigger plan to this, that I already have this pain, and now I can help relieve it from other people, because nobody ever helped my parents get out of that. And it created a lot of fights, stressful house, and a lot of fights over money, and that's where this, I never want to have to worry about money seed was ingrained. This is pre my insurance life, and I get these 4 houses under contract, and they're small houses, like $100,000 houses. And I'm picking them up for like 40, 50 grand. But in every single one, something major went wrong. One of them, the well dried out. Another one, a roof collapsed. Another one, all the mechanicals started failing. And I remember one night I was just on my knees in my bedroom crying, because I'm like, God, what the heck? Like, we're going, like, all these doors were open, and now I have to tell all these people who I have under contract, and to help them, save them, like, from their pain, we can't help them anymore. Because obviously that blew up the numbers. And, I was just buying the houses for their mortgage amounts. So there was no renegotiation that could have happened. And I remember feeling so defeated. Like, okay, I guess I'm not fit out for this flipper real estate stuff. And the next day I met an insurance guy. All the lights went on. I was like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is fine. But 4 years into that journey, like I said, and I go back to where I left off, I said, nope, I don't want to be wearing the suit. I don't want to help somebody worth 3 million make another million. Like, that really didn't motivate me. I said, I can do this flipping thing. I already known I can get houses under contract. So let's go do this. So I was praying about it, thinking about it, planning for that for about 6 months, randomly, right? Met this guy at a 4th of July party here in Canton, Ohio. We have the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and they throw a big 4th of July fireworks. And I met a guy there, and he had an insurance question. I said, what do you do? And he said, I'm a house flipper. And I said, no way. And so he had a question, and I answered him, gave him a ton of value. And then I said, can I take you out to breakfast tomorrow? And so we did. That led to me asking him out to breakfast for the next 2 weeks straight. So I went to breakfast with him for 14 days in a row.
Oh my gosh.
And on the last day, on the last day, he said, read this book. It was his book on how to flip houses, and I had already read it. And I reread it in one day. I said, I read it. My real estate guy's name is Dell. I said, Dell, I read it. And he goes, are you kidding me? He goes, hey, if I just help you find a house, will you stop calling me? And so I said, yeah, that was my first flip. So we bought this flip in September. I met Dell in July. We bought our first flip September 5th, 2018. I had $7,500 in my name at that point in like IRAs or whatever and cash in the bank. So we took all that. I gave it to Dell. He lent me about 80,000 on that $7,500 down money, and we picked up our first flip. And my wife was 8 months pregnant at the time with our first boy, and so I knew I had no money and a very pregnant wife who could have had a baby at any time. So this needed to be done. I had no crews, I had no experience, I had no backup plan. So I was just super determined to get it done and to just trust Dell and God and like everything I was doing at that point. So it was a complete gut. I mean, just monstrous first flip, converting a garage into, well, they converted the garage into a master bedroom. We converted it back into a garage. We finished the basement, completely redid all the kitchens, all the bathrooms, like built beams, took out load bearing walls. And I was a YouTube contractor, right? So if I didn't know how to do something, I was in my car at the flip, pulling up YouTube, how to build a beam on a load bearing wall, for cheap, like didn't have all the answers. But we finished that flip on like October 26th, 27th, which is incredible now. Looking back and doing that flip in like 7 weeks, I'm like, wow, we really did it. So my wife in her 39.5-week pregnancy was on her knees, cleaning the house, walls, and we were doing all the favors. All my friends, hey guys, we got to get this cleaned up. It was a mess. And you guys know, like the punch list, right? At the punch list that should take a day always takes 2 weeks. I mean, I know that now. But, we had like 20 people, in-laws, friends, everybody helping us put this together. And we put it on the market, and we went in for our C-section on October 30th. And while my wife is getting prepped in the OR, and I get asked to come into the OR, so we're 10 minutes away. Like I don't know if you guys have ever had a C-section, but like the husband comes in like when it's game time, yeah. So, man, like there's no messing around when the husband gets the call from the hallway, like, hey, come in here. And my phone starts ringing. And I'm like, hey, Ash, it's Derek. Can I pick it up? She's like, sure, fine. I get it. Like, let's do it. So I called in. Yeah, we got a full price offer right there, 5 minutes before my son was born. Got the DocuSign, signed it, and my son was born like 2 minutes later.
That's amazing.
That's one of the coolest days of my entrepreneurial journey. Was that moment. So we made 17,500 in net profit. So I had like 25 grand to my name, and I thought, okay, that was crazy. But my mentor said, okay, now you're going to go do all the hard stuff this time. I was like, oh, that wasn't hard. So he's like, no, the hard part is finding the house, finding the money. It took 6 months. I had my eye on a couple houses, putting in tons of offers. I was just doing MLS deals at this point because I had no idea about running acquisitions teams and all that. The cool thing is, the way the story goes is I had all these houses favorited. I see one of them went under contract, and I was heartbroken. And I looked at the auditor, and who bought that house? Dell. And I said, you got to be kidding me. Dell got this house I was working for. And I called him and said, hey, dude, it had been 6 months since, we had our second house. Money's dwindling. I got a 6-month-old, and now I'm starting to panic. And I looked at this house I really wanted, that I really thought this was going to be our next house. We had a good relationship with the realtor, and who ended up buying it was Dell. So called Dell, said, hey, man, I've been watching this house. I really need you to help me. I had made like 70 offers. I mean, I think I could still go back and find my notebook on this. I had built like 100 scope of works. And this was Dell's teaching moment to me. You're not going to be good unless you can build a scope of work and a plan. And I'm pissing off contractors because they're coming, giving me bids, and then I'm losing the houses, but I had put all this work and energy into all of these projects and never got one deal accepted. Telling Dell all this, and he goes, okay, I'll wholesale it to you for $5,000, which ended up being the price that I wanted to get the house at anyway. So once I got that house, I decided I'm going to hire a crew. I helped out a little bit, but I said, I need to use my skills and talents and abilities. And I think that is in marketing. So I need to, and building relationships. So I need to get my butt into these networking groups, into high level circles, and learn how to do acquisitions. And so once I got that house, about halfway through, I got another house because I started understanding the pipeline and the journey of a flipper. And then from that point on, we never had less than 4 houses we were working on for the next 4 years.
How has this whole process and this journey impacted your family?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I have 3 kids now. I have 3 kids in 5 years. So I have a soon to be 5-year-old, soon to be 4-year-old, and just turned 1-year-old. So it's been absolutely amazing. We've moved twice. Now we have with the home we're in now, wouldn't have been maybe not possible, but it's just incredible that we like pulled it off by being our own boss, right? I'm sure you guys feel this way too. Like, oh my God, how did we pull this off? Like, and it's like we get out of here for the winter. We go down south. Work still happens, right? But we can work virtually and, living where we want, doing what we want. I mean, those are all things that, flipping and the entrepreneurial journey has definitely opened up for me. And there's the relationships. You're doing 50 flips or something. And I was doing like 50 flips in my second year. And I thought, okay, I mean, I'm blowing people out of the water locally. And then you meet some of these national guys that do 50 a month. And you're like, oh, I'm not doing anything. So just the vision casting of thinking bigger, understanding that like when you get a $50,000 check, yeah, that's a good check. But like, how do we get a $500,000 check? How do we get a $5 million check? It just creates you to think in such bigger numbers. That's kind of where we're at now in our journey is like, okay, flipping's fun and it's cool. How do we buy, businesses, and how do we take this to the next level?
Well, let's ask specifically about Cabin Wars. So what inspired you to audition for Cabin Wars? What excites you most about this particular show concept?
Well, I think one of us is either friends on Facebook or friends of friends. And I saw this, it was a good, or maybe it was just a sponsored ad, but I thought, oh, this is cool. And I had previously been, we had a crew from LA fly out from one of my TikTok videos. They wanted to do a series, and they had an in with the Magnolia Network about the show. Like this is like pre when they left, and they wanted to do a show about flipping unusual things. So we were under contract to buy a middle school that we were going to flip into apartments. We had the slides laid out and it was cool. We had some storylines and stuff, but ultimately that school ended up falling out of contract and being a disaster. But that always intrigued me. Like, oh, this would be cool. And what I like about what you guys are doing, and this is why I wanted to hear, what your concept was, is the personal story effect of it, like The Voice. I think that's very powerful. I thought it would be cool just to see everybody's story, who does this every day, as part of their life, and that somebody that's stuck or wants to get out of their situation can relate and say, I mean, if we do 4 flips and make 80 grand, that can free us up, or whatever, right? I wanted to give that hope, and that's behind my TikTok. And that's what I wanted to see if you guys were doing, and you are. So that excites me to be able to share some of the entrepreneurial message and the power of that through any way I can, whether it's my TikTok or TV.
So Jared, how do you believe your unique skills and experience set you apart from other competitors?
Well, as a flipper and not a new builder and not a new interior designer, every single house we buy is a new situation. So I'm certainly not going to walk into this and see something I haven't seen before.
Right.
We've seen holes in roofs. We've seen pipes been left on all winter. I mean, we've literally, the things that we have pulled off, it's like incredible to look back and say, wow, I can't believe it turned out this way. Specifically one project, I don't know if you guys saw this one. We had an old barn. It was the original horse barn of the Cyberlings who own Goodyear, here back in Akron when it used to be the capital of rubber capital of the world. And so we have all these huge, like majestic barns and houses. And one of these barns in the 70s got turned into, it was just hideous, right? They put drop ceiling like off of these beams, and we had no idea what was behind any of this thing. But why the Cabin Wars and this specific skill question as well is because you're able to use things that were already there. and not just completely remove them, and within a budget, right? So, as an interior designer, and I've done some like remodel work, right, for people who follow me and just like call me and say, hey, will you do our basement? And that's great. I'm like, yeah, it's 50 grand. What do you want done? And we just do whatever they want. It doesn't matter. They just stroke us a check. But when you're doing a flip and you're like, okay, we can't remove this, we can't do this. How do we make it work? And how do we make it look good and appeal to the masses, at the same time? I think that's a unique thing that flippers, and then, doing, like 100+ flips. I'm not scared of walking into something I haven't seen either. So even if that were the case and I walked in and it was something I was completely taken off, off by, like, I wouldn't be intimidated by any projects that we had to do.
Let's say you win Cabin Wars. How would that impact, I guess, your goals and your journey?
There's a couple things on my heart about this, and this is from a personal level. I think it would be cool to give some of that away to a couple of charities that I support and stroke them some nice checks. Because even as a flipper, even when the pipeline's full and things are coming and you're like, okay, we got a couple hundred coming in, this and that, and then you can like see it. Like, it's still hard to write. It's still hard to write the big checks to like charities, because you're like, really hope that buyer's financing doesn't fall through. Yeah. And so I think this could be like a external motivator for me, not just to be like, oh cool, we just got our South Carolina winter trip paid for. It could be like, hey, I know a couple of these guys that need this money. And we actually have fundraisers on back to like yesterday we had one, and then today we have one. It's just been placed on my heart, like, wow, we could almost fund some pretty big portions of these projects, with that money. So that's something I'm diving into. I'm not wiping my butt with 50 grand. So it's a number I would fight for. I'm competitive. I want to win. I'm not going on there just for fun. I want to have the best. And if that's through like social promotion, or however you guys are going to do the judging system, or if it's having the best open house and whining and dining everybody that comes through my house, like I'm not above that. I will do that. I think we can donate a big portion of that money and really impact some people here in my town.
At the end of the day, what flipping is kind of, and why people are drawn to it, is there's this power and transformation. Can you share a moment or a story where you witnessed that impact of something that you did?
So last night we're at this fundraiser, and I had helped some people locally get started in flipping, and kind of just like flipping 101. One guy in particular, him and his business partner really hooked on, and we're like, hey, we're going to do whatever you tell us to do. And this was like 3 years ago. And I saw him last night at the fundraising event, and he's crushing it. And he came over and gave me a huge hug and said, thank you so much for teaching us the basics. I mean, now he's running acquisitions teams. He's getting deals on his own. He's going to, he's doing really cool, big things. I was just having a conversation like, wow, this is great. This is awesome. I always knew you would do it, Pat. I'm not surprised by this. And then my wife was holding my hand, and she squeezed my hand, and I look over and she's like misty eyed. I'm like, what's up? She's like, you completely changed that guy's life. And it was like cool that I got to reflect, or she brought that to my attention, that we had done that. I have a couple contractors who were working for me. I want to help stretch them in their vision. So I have a couple contractors who have completely left me, started their own flipping companies, and I don't hold any resentment at all. I think that's great. Now we're affecting those families, right? And now they can do their flips and then take, whatever they want off, or keep going hard. And so from a relationship standpoint, that's a big deal that we've been able to do that.
Tell us a little bit about your personal style with designing, and like what you would envision your dream cabin transformation.
Now, this is a fun question here. Yeah. So you have to like take off your flipper eyes, because kind of what I talked about earlier was when we walk into a house, I don't get to just do whatever I want. Right. So, we have houses up here, like here, I'm going to just show you. So I don't know if you guys can you guys see that floor?
Yeah.
So somebody paid a lot of money for that floor in the 80s. Right. And I don't love it, because it's through a hallway in the front entry. Right. It's like ugly, but it's not like a deal breaker. I have to work with, how can I make that floor look good? and it looks ugly now because the walls are yellow. So if I paint those walls in off-white, bring out some more of that white, not so yellow, and now it looks trendy and minimalist instead of a 1980s floor. But my preferred style, I definitely think it is, and this is maybe why Cabin Wars stuck out to me too, is that I mean, this is probably no shock to like most of the men, right? Like it is rustic, it's open, it's exposed, big windows, nature, right? Like natural elements, stone, really pretty wood, hard, like quartz, like, marble, things like just natural elements, not just prefab houses these days.
How do you think viewers would connect with your personality or approach on this show? Like what would your character be?
We just met, but there's powerful marriage story. There's powerful struggling to get pregnant stories. There's powerful we were broke stories. So I think those can connect with different people and mass amounts of people. There's health stories. Maybe there's one in there that we do bring to light with the wife's permission, bring to share hope. It's just a moment in time. Doesn't mean it's over. And just persevering, right? I think we have a lot of stories of persevering and enduring and faith and hope.
So, at the end of the day, people are going to vote for someone that they connect with. And so that's very important to us to select someone that, you're renovating a house, but you're telling your story, like those self-filming moments or those opportunities to share the power of your story. And whatever people are going to connect with you, and they may even just vote for you because they like you and they don't care for your cabin design, so so it's very important that that in our process that we're selecting someone that we know is a good storyteller. I think it's
absolutely.
Steve Jobs said the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. So that's
absolutely. Yep. No, right on board with you guys there. Yep.
So, so we actually, man, I could actually talk to you for an hour or two, probably. But so as just a final pitch in a sentence or two, why should viewers root for you at Cabin Wars?
That is a fantastic question, because I want the real winner to win. And I hope that's me. Why should somebody vote for me? Well, we're going to do big things with the money. We're going to give it away. We're going to make a big impact. We're going to provide a great house that somebody's going to enjoy. Man, guys, that is a great question. I want the real winner to win. If it's for me and they relate to me, that's great. But if I can help a few people have some hope and say, hey, I could do that too, like I saw on HGTV, that's bigger than the win. The win's great for my ego and, branding and social media. That's great. And the impact that we'll have. But I hope to have a bigger impact outside of the voting on connecting with maybe men that don't think they're doing what they should be doing, and it could be in a lot of ways, right? So, I mean, like, hey, man, you gave me hope for my marriage or to be a better dad or to start a side hustle and to make more money. Those are the things those are the impacts that I really want, to have. I'm sorry I can't answer that question, like just straight up, like I want to have the best house and get all the votes and be the most charismatic and all of that. Like that's all great, but I guess that's really fallen second in line when I think about the big picture and the vision of what I think can be achieved, with these personal stories through the platform of, flipping houses.